Now, Elon Musk, as well as SpaceX and other indexers of effect, have good or even up to and including NASA, have placed certain robotic drones and co-op to what they are outfitting. In reality, this is real. These are real. They are in space, and they're already prioritizing, thinking about simulating this everywhere else in the near future. There are hyper-robotic drones very close to what quantum medbeds would do, except they simulate on scan node between your own hologram. They protect. They don't stop to mate and kill other itinerary codes unless it's real negative species out there. You get what I mean?
Everybody, welcome to episode 20. Blue, how are you?
I'm good today, Mike.
Awesome. Hey, we're going to have a big show today. What are we going to talk about in episode 20?
One of the main factions of events that are currently going on and have been placed on for curricular scale is to the generative articulated nodes that deal with the higher species or indexers of effect. That up to and includes military and co-op agenda through the force, as well as delivering a higher plateau upon the scene's retrieval point.
Before we get started here, I do want to invite everyone to please like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast, wherever you see this video, and also click on the notification. Sometimes things are very timely here. And speaking of timely, we were talking pre-show something about these Siematic Aqua tube tunnels. What is that?
Well, the Siematic optic tube tunnels go and deal with the Siematic Aqua tube tunnels. They deal with correlated events that maintain and higher curricular scale through motivations underwater through the aqua lines itself. You think about paradigm shifts. You also think about retrograde processing statistics that go through these underlying causes of events, as to and up to including aqua or lava indexer points. These points that motivate under the water that conjoin or conjuncture with the ley lines that distribute throughout the aquaphytic tunnels underneath the realms itself in this planet. Now, the levels of effect that correlate with it could also stimulate what they could do with technologies in the near future. These aeroducts or aqueduct inlet tunnels go more or less, they're streams. Now, if you think about how streams are in the air and how they blow into a certain speed, it's the same thing underwater. They're actually, more correlated to a type of current. But this current is more a paradigm effect because it is circulated through these ley line conjunctures. There is an aqua level, and there's also, as I had stated, the lava levels. Now, the aqua levels are more air indexer points. They could up to and include lines of events that circulate through what mermaids and other transitional codes may go through, and as well as certain aqua beings, like pods, if you will, certain pods, dolphin pods, or other types of species. They use these as a way to go through from one point of effect to the other. Now, the simulation code can go through this. They could make something that can go on a higher level of effect. And that itself can play a very vital role of being able to motivate and move underwater in the near future through these aqua tunnels. But the aqua tunnels are more stimuli, being able to aerodynamically move with the physicality screen around the indexer itself, closer to what would be underneath in the near future for trains. And the simulations of how those types of trains or tube systems be a lot less on speeding wave and closer to a shorter type of bus, or, as long as that. Not something very, very long like a tube system itself. There's two similarities that can process in the near future.
You had mentioned that type of tunnel type travel, and that's one of the first things that entered my mind. I could see a guy like Elon Musk trying to capture this and trying to take advantage of it there. So are you saying that this could be a method of transportation for us if we could develop the technology to access these tunnelways here?
Well, scientists have been looking into that for quite a while on how these aerodynamic streams play out on vital roles underwater. These aerodynamic streams could play out a vital role as a physicality think process, because it could be similar to how they can aerodynamically move certain tubes underneath the ocean itself without screwing up the scenery, the animals, and just the way humans are itself. It's motivating a better propaganda. So it's an idea into perception of what higher realms have affected before that could be maintained on an aerodynamic mainstream.
We had also talked in recent episodes about tunnels and systems that access another place, like an inner Earth, if you would. And I'm curious, is this the same type of thing? Or can you access that inner Earth through these systems?
The current aero streams do dynamically go to inner world for perturbation effects that could stimulate into a type of tunnel because of the currents it was playing out for. These currents never really move. If humans really paid attention to the current in the system of the currents itself underwater in the oceanic grid, they'll notice it never really moves around. It always, and most of the time, stimulizes going around certain areas of effect. It also plays an energetic role, and an energetic electromagnetic grid role. And because of that, the frequencies could maintain the mainstream with it as well. So yes, it could stimulate or bring similar properties to tube tunnels underneath that could provide electromagnetic fields and properties to move and motivate.
I was asking that because that seems like a quicker, more efficient way for us to gain access to that area that we're calling inner Earth. My next question, though, is because of all the recent disclosure, because of the military changing its stance on disclosure. My question is you constantly see almost every day, or at least once a week, you see some sort of military footage of a UFO, an unidentified flying object, a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, and USOs, unidentified submersible objects. So my question is when we're seeing these unidentified submergible objects, these objects that can go in or out of the water, and they seem to do it at great speed, and they don't seem to change their velocity once they hit the water, are they headed to that same system in the water? Is it maybe more predictable where we may see these things? Are these things literally like a roadway and we can follow a USO to that roadway?
Yeah. It's like an energetic electromagnetic roadway stream as well. It also creates aerodynamic levels in the aquatic tunnels and events that deal with the core in this planet. That is very vital to keep certain aerodynamic streams in existence because they maintain the vitality of where things are going and how it's being placed, both electromagnetically and physically.
This isn't something that just developed overnight here. This is something that's always been here. So like in the ancient times and the other peoples of this planet, the lost city of Atlantis and so forth, this would have been commonplace then as well if they were able to see it or identify it. This is nothing new, right?
Nope. And to be in the fact that there are certain government and military organizations that already have similar to systems underneath the ocean. That's why they have portrayed to where they are seeing certain injectors coming in and out, like you said, in areas but replicated on protection node of effect. Symbolizing that the main event between these systems and the ecofissional tunnels that already man-made and hyper-terrestrial seen underneath. So in the near future, the same similarity will be on propaganda for all mankind to be able to go through on a better wavelength. So they are motivating and moving around without causing so much damage everywhere. But pardon?
No, I was just going to say, I can really see somebody else like Musk, because we've talked about it before. We know less about what's underneath the ground and underneath the water than we do in space. And I would think this would be, it's great to go to space. It's great to visit other places. It's great to expand our horizon that way. But at the same time, you got to look at your own backyard first. And I feel like we need to dig a little hole in the backyard here and just see what's going on back there before we get too excited about going somewhere else.
Right, because you never know what's going on and around everything.
Is there any way,
right there in front of your eyes, biting you right in the face?
Is there any way that robotics is going to take robotics or artificial intelligence? Maybe is there any way that this is going to help in discovering these tunnels and being able to move forward in something like I recommended, like a Musk taking over and helping develop this type of infrastructure? Are robotics going to take a part in that, you think?
Well, robotics plays some type of vital part when it deals with the schematics and hyper-technologies. But we're more dealing with, if you're talking about something stern, or a type of drilling system that can go underneath. Or if we're dealing with aqua-fitted tunnels effect, that's more or less construction awareness code. Now, robotics, that mainstream is more space. That mainstream is more dedicated to what others will have in the near future as well. The maintainment between aperture of robotics. There could be a negative mainstream and there could be a positive mainstream indexer that is being placed upon this. Now, Elon Musk, as well as SpaceX and other indexers of effect, have good, or even up to and including NASA, have placed certain robotic drones and co-ops to what they are aquafitting. In reality, this is real. These are real. They are in space. And they're already prioritizing, thinking about stimulating this everywhere else in the near future. There are hyper-robotic drones very close to what quantum medbeds would do, except they stimulate on scan node between your own hologram. They protect. They don't stop to mate and kill other itinerary codes unless it's real negative species out there. You get what I mean? They do not harm other normal indexers of a point. They would either shock or defibrillate into that, or, and put into a shock replication code if it was played up on here, on this realm. In space, it's a little different. There are a lot of negative, evil things up in space people don't understand yet. So they do have to have better protection up there. I'm guaranteeing you that. But onto the scene with...
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, but onto the scenes with these drones. They heal, they scan, they will re-replicate. If you got a cut or a scar or something, they would re-replicate it like a med bed would. They anti-gravity, they're metallic alloy structure. They have internal flashlights, hyper-refibrillators. So if someone passes out, lack of oxygen in space, they have an automatic defibrillator node, be able to maintain their oxygen levels. And this is something that will also be at hand in the near future here. But there also come certain robots that don't need to be played on a vital role, and that is what certain actuators on current administration are playing out. Ones that look like synthetic humans. There was a female just recently that they have played all over the place in another country that looked and acted just like a human female. I mean, you even got nowadays humans wanting to play around with dolls or robots and stuff. It's not necessary. That is going to cause a problem where humans are going to become obsolete, because when robots take over and they become too human, what do you think will happen? You have to understand that there's a definitive no between good, bad, and an in-between. You cannot outlet something that is similar to your own processing speed. It does go with these binary codes of what the administration is doing too with humans, of cutting into their genders. That's a no-no as well. 2 no-nos. And don't need to be dedicated here because they will cause a problem. Like mechbots too. Mechbots, they're trying that point. You don't want to cause even more damage unless you have a reformal code that would help place better protection upon your planetary realm.
Do you think that the recent announcements in the media recently that Musk has requested from the other partners that are developing AI technologies like ChatGPT, what have you, that he's requested a pause because he and obviously he's one of the brightest guys that I know of on the planet. Whether that's, and I'm sure it is a lot of his own intellect, but I'm sure he was gifted with some sort of alien technologies or some sort of partnership. If he is not from someplace else, another time, another place. My question though is he's requested this pause. But even if he's requested this pause, do you really think China is going to go, oh, hey, everybody, take 5. We're going to regroup? No, they're going to keep going. So there are going to be entities, even in this United States of America, where we are, that are going to continue, even if there was such a thing as a pause. And it's obvious to me it revolves around money and power. My question, though, is a little bit out there in regards to that. It's come to light recently that China may have developed satellite technology that can go up and actually dismantle or disable some of our satellites that we have in low orbit here. And my question is that something we're aware of? I know this touches on your position with the Space Force and Federation. What can we do about that?
I can give you an answer, but I have to play very careful on how I answer it. Vital roles of effect. In addition, they may co-op with certain HARP infrastructures. Certain HARP infrastructures are never a good dedicated team of effect for this planet. And a lot of the weather elementals are activated negatively to that. Anything else, I am not permitted to say on protection scenario. So very, 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 it's a very sensitive subject right now. I'm saying very sensitive at this time.
Going back to companion drones, initially when we talked about this before briefly on another episode, I thought we were discussing something like a robotic dog or an assistant in the house, or taking your Echo or Alexa and putting some sort of mechanical system attached to it to actually do functions like the iRobot vacuum that does its thing here. So am I thinking the right thing? Is there going to be like when we say an advanced companion drone, is that what we're talking about? Like a butler or a maid at your house that's actually physically helping you do things?
In a way, yes, that would be for the Earth standards soon. But for the cosmic standards, when they're already in space, they're more militarized and strategic. But some of that military strategic will go to humankind too, and that also includes the healing part, the outer protection, the defibrillator, when it's lower on oxygen, whatever. They can have that, but they're just not going to be able to have certain other things because that's meant for space. So there are 2 different types of these drones. One would be aqua-fitted for mankind. The other would be aqua-fitted to be able to protect better.
We've talked in the past about Elon Musk and his NueraLink and putting a chip in the brain, and it seems like a way to help infuse us with AI or robotics. Is that indeed the path we're going, or is there going to be a separation? Or are we going to try to put robots in humans, or humans in robots, or what have you?
No, we don't want that. And even Elon Musk knows there's a different way to transradiate things through the quantum refurbishment code. Now, neurally, there are implements that can be planted upon mankind, like magnets, on off. There is better technologies in his replication code, and it does not implement upon humans. It gives them the advanced extraterrestrial technologies they deserve, but it does not transplant them, and it doesn't give them robotics. Humans are not meant to be robotic. They are meant to have higher transitional codes. They can have the technologies that will help motivate them. But the robotics is a no. That's why the quantum med beds are in wait. That's and that's another thing. Because of big pharma and the way it is, that's why the med beds aren't out. The chemicals will keep inducing because they know if we bring the med beds out, if we can in a possible way, it will automatically take away these negative nanobite technologies that are being introduced to mankind.
Well, yeah, that's
because it's an ultimate generate and heals away all sicknesses.
That's a great point, because if we're cured of disease, there's no need for big pharma anymore. If there's a radical way to cure us, what they want and what's become very evident to me in recent years is they want you to be sick. They don't want you to have a cure. They want you to be on certain pills for a long time, or once you go on this medication, you can't come off it. But you need, it's like, that's recurring income every month for them, week in, week out, day in, day out. And they can move on to the next pill, the next medical treatment, so forth. So, they're not going to make a ton of money if they cure you. They're going to make a ton of money if they make you believe you're getting cured, or we're resolving or lowering the symptoms of your disease without addressing the root cause of the disease and actually curing the disease itself. Yep. It's phenomenal to me that that's the type of existence we live in. But even I am suspect and guilty to that with some medical issues I've had, where I've had to rely on medications and so forth. And I'm always, every day when I take a medication, I'm like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I just stopped taking this. I wonder, and I don't know. I'm trying to trust in our doctors and the people that are around us. But we saw recently that we can't trust the doctors and the people around us, because they will lie to you. They will give you false information right up front, right to your face. They will lie to your face. Then years later, they'll go back and try to edit that history and try to, oh, I never said that. I said this. Stop. Is that a sign of the evil on this planet versus the good on this planet, like we've talked about before?
Yes, and to think about another thing, and we're dealing with Elon Musk and the med beds. Once we can get the med beds out, we can get rid of Big Pharma's stupidity. When that happens, Elon Musk may consider, instead of neural implants, magnetic neural implants. Magnetic neural implants, at least through a retrosphere, will work and co-op with certain types of hypertechnology. Because when we put the med beds in, we don't have to put robotic infrastructures on humans. They don't have to have any type of robotic system to fix themselves. They'll automatically be hyper-reemulated. And then they can have the motivation of working alongside certain robotics. So like you said, in a way it is, but in a way we don't want humankind to become metallic in any way. They can co-op with others, or with other type of robotic systematic formational codes. You got to think about the similarity processing speeds that went into some movies, like The Fifth Element, certain Star Wars movies, Roku, The Mandalorian, hint. Some of the games recently they have out have these wristbands that shows the hollow modulation like I had simulated. This is coming. The implement that can come on and off, so people can neurally transidiate to a hyper technology scene, is coming. This is why Elon maybe he's moving forward in the right direction, but he does need assistance when it comes to the Federation standards. So just a hint his way, weigh it out, so people aren't thinking that you're getting some type of mark of the beast in your system. They don't want that. They want to know that they are being generated forward through things.
That's very interesting to me. You mentioned the mark of the beast thing, because I know you had said in the past about the quantum technologies coming soon, and that's one of the first things that flashed in my mind is the number. You won't be, in the Bible it tells us you won't be able to buy or sell without the number. It'll be either on your forehead or in your wrist, like your right arm, your right hand area. And I know you've mentioned that before. So you're stating that there is a good side to that, yet there's the evil side, like
no,
maybe
I'm stating that the certain nanotechnologies are the mark. They be in place across the globe around mankind, shots and stuff. But with Elon, he is on the good side, but he don't want others to start thinking things. He wants to motivate it outward from that, saying it was a chip, move that form, and move forward like I had stated with these implements. Because we don't want, Biden's already implementing stupidity, his administration, with this chemical byproduct node. And those pretty much are marking of a centralized negativity sphere. We want to flow in the proper directive. So, like I stated, towards SpaceX, StarX, please do it right. Do it the right way so others, they know that they're going in the right direction with you.
It's interesting you had pointed out about SpaceX and NASA and Space Corp. Let's lean on your positions with the Space Force and the Federation here, and recently there's been a lot of paranormal activity, Hawaii and so forth. Can you give us some insight from your position with both those places, the Federation and the Space Force, as to what's going on recently with paranormal events?
Well, since I was recently interjected from online fortification speeds, it is a little bit older of what happened at Hawaii. So probably about a little over a month ago or so, maybe a month and a half, they had certain space rockets up there, an alignment protocol, Air Force distribution scenes, and a pro-enactment with certain type of balloon infrastructure at that time. But there was also some other types of similar nodes of effect over the oceanic waves or up and by Hawaii. They didn't shoot it down. They let it go with them. They leveled out with the type of star unit it was and let it go on its way. I'm not sure if this replication node was mutual or not. From what I'm defining, it may more or less have been. So it couldn't have been something negative. I know most of the balloons that I've announced before have, but this one was a little different. They were not quite sure. So they have pretty much produced it outwards in a different stream of events. But there have been physical star units there too, and activation, and those go with the replication scenes itself with the Terror societies underwater. Hawaii actually goes and interlocks with the ley line conjunctors that tunnelizes to the inner world. Because you heard of volcanic systems and everything, volcanoes, a lot of the activities that go around. It's one of the reasons why it's circulated about Dexter tunnel events. Some of them circulate through the ley line or electromagnetic fields through there. The higher the electromagnetic fields that conjuncture through the pro-enactment forms through the Aqua fictional tunnels, the more that there may have been a paradigm shift or something paranormal in that outlet itself.
I'm not sure you can answer this, but with your position, again, with the Space Force and the Federation, when I'm seeing these recent exposures or disclosure of paranormal activities or UFOs, UAPs, USOs, it seems to always come from a naval type vessel. And it makes sense. 2/3 of the planet is covered by water, and we do have a large Navy. And I would think they would be more apt to see something out in the middle of nowhere than anyone else. My question is the U.S. Navy working in conjunction with Space Force to help with these things?
Yes, Navy and the Marines. There are many types of military units that coincide with the force. We work together. We work together behind the scenes to maintain the stability for mankind and the preservation of codes of effect so the societies can be stabilized in the near future. And
it would make sense then if the Navy is involved here on our planet. It would make sense to me that the Space Force may also be working in conjunction with the Air Force and maybe SpaceX and maybe NASA. Are they working with these agencies as well?
All military, all transitive effects. Those are up to including, obviously, the space part.
One more thing here. We talked about the Space Force in the past, and I had alluded that possibly Space Force was also working on space here on this planet. In other words, the internet, the cloud, and so forth. Is that that's true as well?
Yes, core communications and database streams through the electromagnetic interference lines, as well as maintaining the higher coordinated effects upon the plateau. Reanalyzing and remaintaining what correlated events from HAARP had degenerated currently against their infrastructure, as well as many other types of recent themes. It also goes into what I wanted to announce about certain replications in the force, as well as star beings that help. Now, the nanobytes and the technologies that go by that go through two different wavelengths, a positive and a negative outlet. Obviously, the negative outlet circulates to what they're doing and clouding the sun's infrastructure up above with these certain particles. These particles can be maintained through negative attributes, actuated through HAARP, through other infrastructures, maintained as well on a negative aerosphere through dynamics, through certain planes that particleize it out. They leave lines and that's negative particles they scatter. And currently, from what I hear, a CIA director is trying to refine this code and make it happen in reality. So it's bringing these planes and scattering them all over the place with these negative particle events. There's a decommissioning node that it is causing major sicknesses, actuation negative points up on a neural standard. And yes, in the force, we're fighting against that. So if you see a lot of these gray particles and it's foggy, it's covering things, where you see these lines that do not actuate right and come from these planes, I guarantee you they are caused from the nanoparticle event. The positive particle events are actuated lines through what certain Andromeda species or other hyperterrestrials have helped to motivate the plateau. And that deals with the ascension processing speeds, so where hyper-elevated processes were maintained. And because of that, it could make the color spectrum in the sky differentiate than normal. And that processing speed will provide that the clouds are hyper-elemental, but they're not hyper-elemental to a negative metallic alloy like that the other scene of events. The nanobytes in are different, and they help prioritize things. They keep things elevated, and they are distributed to the loconic events of a star unit that may be hiding behind them as well, into that actuation point.
Wow. We've had a wonderful show today. We're already out of time. Just before we go here, how about a final word, Blue?
Oh, well, there was one thing I needed to say, and that's to Miss Kamala Harris. You got to get it right, woman. You say you want to protect the rights of females. Let me tell you one thing. Protecting the rights of females is not creating a genocide where you're killing off the offspring. That's not protecting a female's right. And it is not protecting a female's right by putting a male into a female formula of code, because you are taking away the generative nodes of the life forces of mankind. You are not protecting it. If you want to protect it better, you may want to consider regeneralizing your ideas, motivating those who want to feel, like I said, on an optimized gender status back to hyperterrestrial C, or capsulize that humans get what they provide and need into these quantum medbeds and actuation points, that they are not degeneralizing upon themselves, especially the females here. I feel bad for the other women here. I feel bad for the child unit. And you all should be ashamed of yourself for the way that you've enacted.
You know, that's something else. We could probably spend a whole show on that topic right there on that subject. Kamala Harris supposedly was the czar of the border and now the czar of artificial intelligence. Isn't that ironic? Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Do us a favor again. Go ahead and like, subscribe to where you're picking this feed up, and go ahead and click on notifications too, so you're notified when we post something new here. Blue, wonderful show. Episode 20 in the books here. Thanks again, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Thank you, Mike.